every other Grand Slam title will serve first. In the first round, you see she beat Reese and then Martin, Zina Garrison,
Joanne Fall, and then Manuela Maleva.
Maleva in the quarterfinals. All in straight sets.
At least to now, she has played, to my mind, like a number 3 in the world.
Are we talking Sabatini?
As 2, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I still think of Navratilova as 2.
Okay. High praise.
Really interesting to see if Seles could really just go after all of her shots. As I said, her strength is in her aggression, just like Graf. It'll be interesting to see also if we can tell if Graf is well or unwell. It would probably show up in the legs.
Her color this morning is a little pale, talking about Steffi Graf. That is not because she's playing the semi-final of the Grand Slam and she's worried about it. She's been there before. And Steffi Graf wins the first game of this best-of-3 set match, playing against 15-year-old Monica Seles of Yugoslavia. We'll be back in a minute. Seles is from Yugoslavia, as I said, but she lives in Bradenton along with her parents and brother, and she goes to Nicola Perry's tennis academy, of course.
Steffi and Monica both understand so well how to attack on serve. Graf's serve at this stage is much stronger than Seles's, so she could get into early trouble. You can hear the grunting.
Just take a look at those scores, 1-1, and then Love and 1 against Bettina Fulco, 1-1. Lafrata of Italy, 2-1. In fact, her matches have taken on the average just about an hour on clay. So she's played for 5 hours in the French.
More grunting. You know, she's got two-handed backhand, two-handed forehand, and stereo grunt too, Seles. Swing volley right into Graf.
It's a remarkable shot, isn't it? She hits it so close to the body. What's this? The approach shot, as you saw, was one-handed. Then she just grabs it with 2 hands and flails away right at Steffi's feet. Ooh, just like.
She's going for it, though, isn't it? She's trying to take it right to Graf, right from the start.
Two-handed backhand, as you can see. She's a left-hander primarily, and she hits the two-handed forehand most of the time as well. Except that one there, she takes, as you see, the right hand off it and hits it like a left-handed forehand, but that was way long. Her preference, though, if she has time, is to hit it with two hands.
That short one that stays low to Seles' side is obviously going to be a tough shot for her with her grip, the way she normally approaches forehands. That one's foreign to her and uncomfortable.
Only one set in 41 Grand Slam matches. No sets in this championship.
The one set was to Navratilova, last year's Wimbledon final. As a matter of fact, Martina was up a set in 2-love before Graf totally took over. That's what I'm talking about, the way Seles attacks on serve. There is no other woman except for this woman who consistently goes for the returns of serve so well. And it's such a good play, especially in women's tennis, when that tends to be the shortest ball you see in a rally.
Only Conchita Martinez deuced a set with her, got to 6-4 in the second set. Otherwise, nobody else has got even close.
But it was after that Conchita Martinez match, Cliff, that Graf took ill.
She's made a few unforced errors, but Mary, I had the same feeling when I watched her play against Chris Evert in Houston. It's just a matter of time before she gets it all together. Of course, that may not happen in this match because Graf, with her power, could just overpower her like she does everyone else. We'll see. Game point. Terrific.
Swinging just as Graf does, throwing her entire body into it. Opens up the court with this, and another swing volley winner.
Well, say all you like about Monica Seles. Steffi Graf says, I've got my own tune that I dance to. 3-love in the first set. Seles, just relatively speaking, little thing. She's about 5'4", a little bit more than that. Weighs about 100 pounds.
She dresses like the ball kids.
Same fella.
She's probably old. She's probably younger than a couple of them too. She'd come into the tournament without any kind of clothing contract. As a matter of fact, she said she was buying her clothes at a store in New York. She still hasn't signed on, but she is wearing a popular tennis line now. I'm sure after this performance, a lot of people are going to be trying to snap up Monica Seles.
Watch carefully. It's interesting to see the difference between her forehand and her backhand side, even with the two-handed shot. The two-handed she hits a little bit later than she does the legitimate backhand. And that's so often true. Of course, she will hit the forehand usually a little later. David Markin, Gordon Jorgensen of the USTA. Markin is the president. Jorgensen, the past president. Watch.
Monica won the European and Junior World titles when she was 10 years old. She was named Yugoslavia Sportswoman of the Year when she was 12 years old. proud of that. She says, before me, the youngest woman to have won that was 18 years old. Nick Bollettieri first saw her back in 1985 when she won the Orange Bowl. By 86, she started spending a couple of months at least at Bollettieri. She's been there now the last couple of years. Unbelievably hard worker. Bollettieri said the only other person he ever had with Monica's attitude is Brian Gottfried, who is famous for being a workhorse. Here's her first game.
He wins the first game, her first game of the match, but he's down 3 games to 1.
The interesting thing is Nick Bollettieri does not want Monica to win this match. He said it would be too much, entirely too soon. Too much would be expected of her. She'd have all kinds of crazy pressures on her. And there's still a lot he still wants to work on with her game, her serve in particular, her volleying.
Well, those sound like words to me. I think it would certainly not do any harm to win it. Boris Becker, of course, won Wimbledon that year when he was so young, and then he won it again the following year. Then enjoyed some of a slump, but it didn't hurt him, I don't think, to win it.
There's Nick Bollettieri. A lot of his pupils were entered into the French. Everyone expected to be watching Andre Agassi at this stage of the tournament, his most famous athlete. But it's Seles, who's still alive.
Agassi beaten by Jim Courier in the men's singles.
Another Bollettieri protege.
And then Courier lost to Chesnikov. Chesnikov yesterday beat Mats Wielander. He's in the semis of the singles. To play young Michael Chang of the USA. Game point for Graf to go up 4-1 first set.
Premier service.
And 106 pounds. Oh, she can waltz the ball. Normally when you've got two hands, you just can't create that kind of power because you tend to have a naturally short backswing. But Seles is so loose that even with the short backswing, she gets a lot of great racket speed. It's kind of like Pippi Longstocking.
Avantage, Mademoiselle Graf.
She misses those sometimes, like you saw her miss that one, but you never feel like she's going to miss them for long, do you? There's no real mechanical reason for it to happen. So it is game point for Graf.
Mademoiselle Graf.
4 games to 1 for the #1 player in the world, the holder of the Grand Slam. That's all 4 Grand Slam championships in 1 year. And, of course, the holder of the French. We'll be back. Clearly, it is going to be a match because Monica Seles has let Steffi Graf know that she's going to be able to return serve if she gets anything short at all. But at this point, it has been all Graf, 4 games to 1. And the only real chink that you've seen, Mary, is something that you brought up, and that is maybe short to the forehand side. But they used to say that about Connors for years. But it's just not that easy to do. You can't go out against somebody and say, hey, you know the way to beat him? You just hit short to the forehand all the time.
I still think Graf separates herself from Seles, especially on serve. Graf's got the best serve in women's tennis right now. With a big serve and a big return, she makes her first strike in every point of a match. I think Graf's one flaw is something that's coming up here. She tends to get impatient. And she does that sometimes. Sometimes she just doesn't wait long enough to close the trap door.
Game point.
She tries to hit winners sometimes, you know, when the rally isn't ready for them.
40-15, still game point for Seles. The thing about Graf that I think is surprising her today is that, of course, she hits the ball hard. She's not used to seeing those come back. When Seles gets to them, not only does she get them back, but she gets them back flat and hard. If you saw the match that she played with Chris Evert, she hit a lot of lobs from the baseline, and it frustrated Chris.
Nothing lobby looking about that backhand.
See, that I think is her real weapon, that backhand. Watch this again here. It's a very interesting shot. Now, she can hit that from almost anywhere. And when you say she has two hands, she lacks some reach, it is made up by this fact. She can hit the ball A hard, B flat, and C as early as she hits it. She can angle it.
Anytime you see Jan Tiriac watching women's tennis, you have to take notice. The reason is because I've watched him at Jennifer Capriati matches as well. She, by the way, is on. She's won a couple of matches now in the junior French Open. Also a very young player who's caught Tiriac's eye. He's got an eye for talent. Look at that. How often do you see Graf in that sort of position? That's what she normally does to other people. Hits cold winners. There, she just got her back. Very high percentage for Monica. She knows she's got to maintain a high first serve. She says against Graf, she said, I'm not going to win any points off my serve. She can win points off hers. She must maintain a high first serve.
Well, she didn't win the point, but she certainly let Steffi know that she can drop shot and lob as well. That adds a little different dimension to the arsenal that Graf is looking at. This is 30-all at 2-4 in the first set. And now game point for a 5-2 lead.
She has terrific concept. She reminds me so much of Steffi. She sees the opening in a point.
Called wide.
Avantage, Mademoiselle Seles.
Break point for Seles to get the break back here in the first set.
What a chance. She went for it.
Unbelievable return, and Monica Seles has broken back. We're on serve in the first set. Steffi Graf, the holder of the French Open title, is ahead by 4-3. We'll be back.
Shameless.
This is Steffi Graf playing against Monica Seles in the semifinals of the women's singles here at Roland Garros, the French Open Tennis Championships from Paris. 4-3. Graf leads it, but Seles is serving first set.
15-0.
Her father was a triple jump champion, and he has helped her get and stay in shape. He's a cartoonist.
Steffi's father, Peter, is still over in Germany. He has not come over because he had the flu all last week and didn't want to bring it over to Steffi. She lost a match to Hanna Mandlikova and the flu back in '86 in the quarterfinals.
It was so bad that she nearly didn't play Wimbledon that year, remember?
I do remember that. Of course, Hanna Mandlikova had a lot to do with it, but the fact is that Graf was up 6-2, 5-4 match point, ended up losing that match 6-1 in the third. That's the last time she ever lost here. A couple of weeks ago in Berlin, Graf also had the flu and had a very tough first-round match against Tina Schuur-Larsen. That's the closest anyone had come to her. 6-4, 7-5, that first-round match. She did end up winning Berlin. But when she's under the weather, she's beatable. Pam Shriver proved that at the Virginia Slims Championships in November. She beat Graf.
Yeah, that winner gives Graf a break point here to go up 5-3, and if she converts here, she'll serve the first set. Big point for Seles. It is long. Graf has broken, and she will serve for it. It is so interesting for me to watch this, Mary, because she plays so much like an Andre Agassi or a Jim Courier and Jan Goran Ivanisevic of Yugoslavia, for example. They just never back up. If you watch her, she stalks the baseline and very seldom plays from behind it. Not so Graf. She was a couple of feet behind at that point, but she was also on the defense.
Look at that. Nearly 80% of her points are won when her first serve goes in. Her second percentage high, too. back down to Graf either, Phil.
You wonder what's going through her mind, don't you? Because here's a kid that she knows that she's going to have to play with against for a long time. And you know she's thinking, she's tough.
She's not used to that pace, shot for shot.
So that's the point. She hits it flat, and she hits it hard. And Steffi hasn't seen that before. Because you made the point in that little piece that you did before the match started. She is unique in women's tennis.
And she does something that, as you mentioned, Courier, Agassi, now Seles do the same thing, something Nick Bollettieri preaches so much. Take the ball early. Stay close to the court. Don't give away a lot of territory.
Serving for the first set, Steffi Graf.
Jeu et première manche. Mademoiselle Graf. 6 jeux à 3.
The champion and